A top story first, Tamil Nadu has just made a significant change to its maternity leave rules. Women government employees will now get 365 days of maternity leave, even for a third child. In fact, it was eligible for the same women, of course, who were giving birth to their third child were eligible for just 12 weeks of leave, while the longer leave was available only for the first two children. But the TVK government, led by Chief Minister Joseph Vijay, is presenting the move as a measure aimed at women's welfare, maternal health, and giving mothers more time for childcare. But there's a bigger question here. Is this really a new policy? Because the Supreme Court has already made it clear that maternity benefits cannot in fact be denied simply because a woman is having a third child. In fact, Tamil Nadu had earlier tried to restrict the benefit to just 12 weeks, but that position ran into the courts as well. And this announcement now comes at a time when the state's fertility rate has fallen sharply and the state is dealing with an aging population. So while the government is now presenting 365 days of leave as a major welfare initiative, is it actually introducing something new, or is it essentially implementing a legal position that has already been established by the Supreme Court? And does the demographic backdrop make this more than just a maternity leave decision? To get some legal perspective on the announcement and what it means, we're now joined by legal expert and advocate Richardson Wilson. Richardson, good to have you back with us here on South Central. The big question, Richardson, is did the Supreme Court already settle the principle that a woman can in fact not be denied maternity benefits simply because she is having a third child? In a sense, was the TVK merely rehashing something that already had legal precedent?
Yeah, thank you, Jude. I must tell you, viewers, that last year in March of 2025, in a case called Uma Devi versus Government of Tamil Nadu, the Supreme Court laid down the law interpreting the fundamental rules that govern government service in Tamil Nadu, specifically Rule 101A, that a woman cannot be denied 365 days of maternity leave, which is available for her first child and second child, merely because she is giving birth for the third time. So the court found that there is nothing in the rule that justifies such an exclusion for the third child. Now, after this judgment was passed in March 2025, the Government of Tamil Nadu in March 2026 attempted to bring in a government order, GO 18, in March of 2026. And through that government order, the Government of Tamil Nadu tried to restrict the maternity benefit or maternity leave for the third child to 12 weeks, which is on par with the Maternity Benefit Act of the Union government. The Madras High Court division benches in 3 judgments did not find favor with this government order. In fact, they said it is not applicable and quashed it and said you should go by the judgment of the Supreme Court in Uma Devi's case. Now, the basic question here is...
Right. No, Richardson, so the question, and I'm sure you're getting there as well, is how much of what Tamil Nadu government has just announced is actually a new policy then? And how much of it is simply compliance with the court's existing ruling?
What they've done now, Jude, as I see it, is just a compliance of the court's ruling. But I argue that a deeper dive is required for the government to understand whether this is practical in light of the fact that almost 40% of the government employees in Tamil Nadu are women. See, we have a stated policy here of giving reservations in government jobs that was increased from 30% to 40%. So at least 40% are women. Now, out of this 40%, if people are going to go on maternity leave for the third child also for 365 days, which is a year, which is not available in any other state in India, we have to balance that and see, who's going to do this job, who will cover their shifts, because a large percent of these women are employed in public-facing departments like school education department, in police department, in the revenue department. So if there are no hands to cover their shifts, the larger public interest angle has to be considered. Because when the Government of Tamil Nadu announced 1-year maternity leave, they did so keeping in mind a 2-child policy, right? So the government has to now seriously consider, can we afford a third year to grant this maternity leave, considering all of this?
But Richardson, if the law was already settled in the apex court, why did the Tamil Nadu government then introduce that 12-week restriction for the third pregnancy in March, only to have the restriction then be struck down by the Madras High Court?
I think the attempt was made to justify that if the union law considers it sufficient to have 12 weeks as maternity benefit for the third pregnancy, an attempt was made by the Government of Tamil Nadu, the previous government, to try and bring it in line with the union law. The courts did not agree. I think the way forward is, if the government is serious about this 365 days for a third child, they should bring in a standalone legislation, because in the case of the Government of India, they have the Maternity Benefits Act. So if the government is serious about it, they should bring a standalone legislation, which is, higher at a higher pedestal in the constitutional grand norm than a government order. And that legislation perhaps can provide for either 365 days or a reduced period if they want a reduced period.
Absolutely. Well, Richardson, the bottom line is simply this. There was already legal precedent with regard to maternity leave for the third child, which the TVK, it seems, is essentially upholding as opposed to, introducing a new policy, which is what, let's say, the propaganda machine in many ways is making this out to be. But on that note, thank you so much for joining us on South Central and breaking down the legality behind the new policy.
Thank you.
Moving on, India and the Asian Development Bank have signed a $230 million loan agreement to modernize Chennai's water supply and sanitation infrastructure. The project will focus on climate-resilient water security, better wastewater management, and improved urban services in the city. Now, the program is also aimed at strengthening Chennai's resilience to floods, droughts, and climate-related water stress while improving services for residents. Meanwhile, Kochi Metro's proposed name change to the Kerala Metro Rail Limited has triggered a political row, with Chief Minister V.D. Satheesan saying the state government was neither informed nor consulted. In fact, KMRL says the broader name reflects the expanding role that it has in urban transport projects across Kerala. The Chief Minister, however, has called for the proposal to be kept in abeyance until the state government is consulted. And on that note, we're slipping into a short break, but don't go anywhere because South Central will be back on the other side, so keep staying tuned to 18.